Hello, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us today for this presentation of Youth for Christ. We've put this presentation together to create some community awareness of the work that we do to help at-risk youth in our communities in Miami-Dade County and Broward County. So we thank you so much for taking your time and joining us today. Welcome. My name is Sonia Lopez. I'm the Operations Director at Youth for Christ. I've been here for 12 years. And what I love about the work here at Youth for Christ is that it has eternal implications. I used to be in the financial field and in the dental field, and we could help a lot of people in those fields. It was very important work. But I realized that when we were here, we were able to help with these kids and their families and just share the gospel of Jesus Christ with them that has eternal implications. So once again, thank you so much for joining us. You're going to hear some amazing stories and the vision of Youth for Christ. And one of the things that I would love for you to do is, as you listen, I would love for you to think about how you could get involved to help some of these kids, get involved directly with the kids, or anybody else that you know that could get involved. I would love for you to think about that. So right now you're going to hear the vision and some stories and some wonderful things that are happening at Youth for Christ.
I am Sonia Rader, and I am the events coordinator with Miami Youth for Christ. I first became involved with Youth for Christ as an intern, and I used to come into the office to help with admin tasks. And while I was there, I would hear the staff that worked in the campus life ministry talk about their kids, what they were planning to do that day with them when they went on campus. And it just sounded like a lot of fun and something very different. And I became intrigued. And so it didn't take long for me to ask if I could go with them sometime and just to see firsthand what they were doing. You know what really impressed me about the ministry was I just was amazed at how the staff could meet the kids at the level that they were at. Meaning sometimes they would play some absolutely crazy games with them, but I knew that it was all a part of building relationships. What also impressed me was seeing how the youth would just open up during Bible study time and share things with them that I know they only could have shared because they were building trust with the staff. I had never been exposed to a para-ministry before coming to Youth for Christ. And so what I was seeing happening with these kids was something very new to me. And as time went on, I really, truly fell in love with this organization. As God would have it, He opened up a door for this position that I now hold as events coordinator. And I've been here for a little over 6 years. And I can truly say there has never been a dull moment since joining Youth for Christ. My role today is to give you a little history about Youth for Christ and also to share our vision for the next 5 years. Youth for Christ has been in existence for 77 years. It was founded in Chicago in 1944. And here's a bit of trivia for you. Billy Graham was actually our first employee. At that time, many teenagers were flocking to rallies and large events across the states, and they were doing so to hear the gospel preached. And it was from one of those rallies in 1948 that the Miami chapter was born. Although over the years, our local leadership and strategies have changed where to accomplish our goals, they may have changed, but our mission to help 11 to 19-year-olds develop a relationship with Jesus Christ and become His lifelong followers has never changed. What evolved was our methods on how to reach these youth where they're at. Our campus life ministry reaches public school youth on campus. Our juvenile justice outreach serves high-risk youth in detention centers. And our City Life Kicks and Catalyst Hip Hop programs reach at-risk youth in our city's under-resourced areas. Our theme this year is Christmas. Mas meaning more in Spanish. We know that with more Christ, there will be more wholeness, more hope, and more faith. I think you will agree with us that that is what our kids need more than ever now, to find wholeness, find hope, and faith in Christ. We have a goal to reach over 4,000 youth, but we know that it will take more champions who deeply care about our kids, and more leaders who will boldly stand up and say, "Here I am, Lord." send me. That is why you are here today, to learn more about the work that we do and to consider if this mission is something that you can get behind. We're looking for adults to invest in this generation of teenagers who are referred to as Gen Z. They are tech savvy. They are aware of current political and social issues, and some are even financially savvy. But there are three crucial areas in which they're struggling: socially, emotionally, and spiritually. The overuse of devices, a severe breakdown of the family unit, and less affiliation with a faith community, among other factors, are depriving them of authentic human connection. Combined, these factors result in things like school shootings and the terrible bullying that happens among our youth. We believe the root cause of youth violence is the lack of deep, meaningful relationships, which is widespread among Gen Z. According to a recent Pew research poll, 89% of teens report they're online most constantly or at least several times a day. Statistics from the CDC tell us that 1 out of 3 teens report feeling sad and hopeless. 1 out of 10 have made a plan, an actual plan, to kill themselves. And 60% report being bullied in some form or another. The myth that exists around Gen Z is that they don't desire real face-to-face relationships. But here at Youth for Christ, we have found the truth to be that they not only desire it, but they also desperately need it. We measure our success by the relationships we build with our teens, because we know that is what they lack and that is what they need. In the last 5 years, nearly 21,000 youth connected with Youth for Christ, and over 11,600 were in authentic Christ-sharing mentorships. Of those, over 1,600 youth said yes to the most important relationship of all, a relationship with Jesus Christ. So embodied in our vision for the next 5 years is our hope to grow those numbers. We want to double the number of youth in authentic Christ-sharing mentorships. We want to have an 85% growth of mentors. We want to reach more youth where they are, online, through our new cloud ministry. And we want to increase the number of financial supporters to fund the ministry as we grow and reach more kids. Today, you will hear powerful stories of transformation. And it is our hope and our prayer that God will stir your hearts to become involved with Youth for Christ. With your support and with God's power to sustain us, we really truly, in the depths of our soul, believe that we can transform our city. Thank you again for spending.
Hi, so my name is Kimberly. I was born in Miami and I'm from Wynwood. As I was growing up, I was becoming involved in a lot of, I guess, violence in my life. I was beginning to become very money hungry, very, angry, violent, like at the world. I was just so mad, and I really didn't have a reason why. And I started becoming friends with this drug dealer from Wynwood. He was like the top drug dealer. Everybody was scared of him or whatever. So I started asking this dude for help. So I wanted him to help me learn how to conduct trafficking. I wanted to learn what is what, like how much what is worth, or the whole get down. I was going to school at the time, so even then I would only get like an hour sleep a day, trying to accustom myself to like having to sell drugs all day. He was like the top drug dealer. Everybody was scared of him or whatever, and we just became like really tight friends. So we became the best of friends. We'd hang out every day at my job. Later on, like, I guess the crackheads that he was selling to was coming to him and started telling him, like, you shouldn't trust that girl. She's gonna snitch on you. She's gonna do this to you. She's gonna do that to you. And then, you know, he's like, oh, you got to stop playing with me. You lying to me. You a snake. You a snitch. You a rat. And then I was like, what you talking about? Like, we're cool. I wouldn't do anything to you. Like, what was wrong? And then he was like, oh, you're snitching on me. You snitched on me. And then he was like, Kimberly, I know where you lay your head at night. And I'm going to go and I'm going to shoot you. And then I was like, well, you know, do what you got to do. I'll be waiting on you. I was mad prideful, and that was really wrong of me. So I wanted to prove to him that I wasn't scared, even though I really was. I was scared for myself, my family, my mom and my dad. You know, I just didn't want anything to happen. He doesn't care about anybody. So I needed a place to go to, because he would always just come and just start harassing me at work or whatever. And it was becoming too much for me. I was scared. So we pull up to this church, which was called Catalyst or whatever. So I look, and then I tell my homegirl, like, I'm not going in no church. You know me, I'm not going in. And I was about to make a whole scene in the car. I was making a scene already. And she was like, man, like, just get over it. You got to do this or whatever. I was like, no, I don't, man. Like, just take me home. I don't want anything to do with this, bro. Like, God doesn't love me, you know. And she had me explain to her, like, why are you acting like that? Like, why would you say that? So it, you know, became the fact that I had gone to other churches in all my life, and I wanted to change. But, you know, I was always told by pastors and mentors that, like, oh, if you want to, you know, get into heaven, you need to stop with the rap music. You need to stop with the dancing. Hip hop is going to send you to hell. So I was like, why would a God, you know, that is supposed to love me for who I am is just going to send me to hell over something, like, the only thing that I know, which is hip hop, you know? So when I walked into Catalyst, it was something crazy. I walk in and I see a tatted up pastor. I see break dancers dancing to, you know, like, really old school hip hop. I see these rappers, you know, they just going crazy on the mic. They sweating of how hard they going. And I see everybody just bumping to, you know, dope music. And it was just like a really nice vibe everywhere. I met Vivian, Joel, Joanna, Dave, and Kevin, and they just became like these really loving people, even though they had no idea about what I was going through. They just took me in, and, you know, they knew I had like problems or whatever, but they never forced me to talk about it. They were just always letting me take my time, and they were just like really comforting no matter what. So most importantly, I came to know God and Jesus Christ, and even though it took me a while to open up, I started to understand that, you know, God was going to love me for the person that I was. And I just started changing as I started reading the Bible, and I started understanding, coming to Bible studies. You know, I just started to become in love with this idea that God was able to accept me for who I was, and that Christ died for me. Because of Catalyst and Miami Youth for Christ, I now look at my life and I feel like I got direction, and I have faith now. I have so much hope for the future, and I have so many blessings coming my way. I'm just so happy and appreciative that I've gotten to be involved with these programs.
Hi, I'm Johanna Ralston-Cox. I'm the Ministries Director with Miami Youth for Christ. I'm not an original Miami native. I am from a town in Illinois called Quincy, and it's a small-ish town if you're wondering how small. One end of the street I grew up on was a cornfield, and then the other end was a cattle farm. So Miami was a huge shock to me, and was really different than anything I'd experienced before. When I grew up, I had two wonderful Christian parents that shared the gospel with me, and I trusted Christ at a really young age. And so I always grew up in an environment where Jesus was talked about, where I was told that I was loved and had purpose. But it was also an environment where I didn't interact with people who were different than me a lot of the time. And because of that, a lot of things from media and film really influenced how I saw the world, including how I saw families in low-income environments. So fast forward a couple of years, I am an intern, I'm in college, and I am serving at Youth for Christ. And I come in with these perceptions that parents in low-income neighborhoods can really just be mean and distracted, and, you know, the stereotypical welfare queen, and there's laziness, and maybe people just aren't equipped. And I was pleasantly surprised to find out that I was completely wrong. That parents in low-income communities absolutely love and value their kids, but they face challenges that I had never seen before. Some of them are working 3, 4, 5 jobs just to afford basic necessities like rent and food for their kids. Many are immigrants, so they're battling learning the language and the culture while also trying to raise their kids in a way that respects the culture they came from, but also makes their kids fit in a little bit and not completely stand out. It's a really difficult environment, and so parents don't need someone like me to come in and take their kids and teach them all these different things. They need someone to come alongside them and help foster their kids' love for their community, for their family, and also hopefully for Christ. So this happened to me at my City Life Kick site, where I was a site leader for 5 years before I became the ministries director. There was a young girl when she was finishing up 5th grade. She needed somebody to do her hair, and I was actually a volunteer at the time. So I remember I was playing basketball with some kids in the playground area, and this little girl walked up to me and she said, "My mom wanted me to ask you if you could do my hair tomorrow for 5th grade graduation." And I said, "Sure, why not? Not a big deal at all." I didn't know that simple yes would completely change the trajectory of my life. That little girl, Lali, and I ended up having a really strong connection. And so I began to mentor her and lead her. And through that, I got connected to her family. And she is led in a home with 3 siblings. She's the oldest of the 4 of them. And they have a wonderful mother named Benita, who is originally from Oaxaca, Mexico. And Benita is a farm worker, and she works incredibly hard to provide for her kids. And so my husband and I, we just got more and more attached to the family, and we started to walk alongside them. And this ended up changing a lot of things for us. We became the emergency contact if Benita were to have trouble with the authorities and get deported, because for a while she was undocumented. Then in 2011, her husband was removed from the home for domestic violence, something we didn't even know about as people who loved her. And so we walked with her through her interactions with DCF and getting full custody of the kids, and all of the court filings that she had to be part of. And then about 2 months after that closed, and everything seemed to be good, Benita was hit by a car while dropping her kids off for school. She survived, but we were alongside her the entire 6 weeks that she was in the hospital. And her kids stayed with me and my husband on the weekends. They would stay with my boss and her husband during the week so that they were close to their local school. I was in the hospital every single day with Benita in the morning and the evening. I would go before work, and then I'd go to work, and then before I came home, I would stop by the hospital again to check on her. And this was a woman who was loving and cared about her kids, had one of the most generous and kind hearts, and she just needed people to come alongside her and love her. During that time, her kids really experienced some resistance to God. They've been through a lot, and they were kind of angry. And Benita, though, became only stronger and more faithful in her devotion to God and her desire to learn about the Lord. And so it was beautiful when she was getting out of the hospital. I remember she told the kids, "Well, on Sunday we're going to go to church." And the kids said, "Okay, we'll go to church," because the church and Youth for Christ had rallied around the family during the time that that Benita was in the hospital, and really cared well for her. And now, let's see, Lali is away at college. She's about to finish her bachelor's degree. Her second daughter, Rosita, just started her first year at Florida Gulf Coast. Liliana is at an honor school, and Ramiro is finishing up the 8th grade. And Benita just found out that she has 4 years of residency and a visa, and is looking forward to maybe going and visiting her family in Mexico for the first time in over 20 years. This is a family that has become my family, and that wouldn't have happened without Youth for Christ. They connected me to this family in love, and that's what we want to do. We want people from all different walks and stripes to come together for the mission of the gospel, and we need people like you to join us in that mission, both to break down our own barriers and our own stereotypes, but also so that we can honor God by caring for the least of these in our own community.
Hi, my name is Dwayne, and I work with the Campus Life ministry model of Youth for Christ. Campus Life goes to the schools, and we serve the schools, serve the community, and work with students in schools, and eventually build relationships with them and share the good news and the hope that we find in Jesus. It was actually in April of 2018. I flew down from Chicago, and I was spying out Miami Youth for Christ, visiting the different ministry sites. It was a Thursday morning in April that I showed up at South Miami High School. I had to drive from far away, and so I wanted to be there early just in case there was traffic. And I get there, and all of a sudden I see parents quickly parking on the side of the roads and rushing to the front of the school. And I'm like, what's going on here? And so I was like, I'm going to find out. So I park my car. I get to the front steps of the school. There's a line of police cars in front of the school. There's a helicopter flying up above, and there's a crowd of like 300 moms and dads on the steps of the front entrance of the school. And I started asking several parents. Most of them spoke Spanish. I found one that spoke English, and I said, what's going on there? And he said, there's a threat and the school's on lockdown. We don't know what's going on. They won't let our students leave, and they won't let us go in. For like an hour, I saw the panic on even parents' faces, concern for their students. It only been like about 4 months since the Parkland school shooting, just about 30 minutes to the north, and parents were wondering what was going on. About an hour later, they realized it was a false threat. They let the parents go into the auditorium, and any student who wanted to go home for the day was allowed to leave with their parents. And I watched as I walked through those front doors, teenage girls grab their mom and just crying when they saw them, and to see like, wow, just the built up stress of just even of a false threat. I remember hearing stories even before I was born of just the threat of nuclear war and how students would hide under their desk. And now students are facing a different trauma. They're having to be trained for lockdowns. And in this particular situation, many of the students got to go home early, but some didn't have a parent that was available to pick them up. And the Campus Life Club I was meant to visit still happened. I got to see April, a Campus Life director, in action. She changed her lesson to a lesson on how to deal with trauma, and she got an amazing discussion during the lunch periods with the Campus Life students. And as she began to listen to them, we found out what had happened that even made it more stressful. They had a PA system throughout the school, and when they had called the code, they heard some screaming in the background, and then all of a sudden the PA shut off. And so they were thinking, wow, this is a school shooter. And so some of the students were hiding under the bleachers in the gym. And when they were hiding under there, one funny guy thought it would be funny to stomp his foot and make this loud echo. And they thought, wow, gunshots. And they were even more traumatized. As students kind of shared their heart and shared what happened, April was there listening, caring, showing them the care that an adult could bring, and bringing security and helping them process their emotions. And I fell in love. I thought, wow, this is an amazing, amazing ministry. You know, there's a myth. There's a myth that we sometimes believe because we see young people on their phones, on their video games, on their devices, and we think, wow, they don't want to communicate in real world, real relationships anymore. They don't want to talk to adults. They just want to be with their peers, and that is a myth. Most young people are longing and yearning for relationships with adult mentors and adult role models. Youth love to have like grandparent figures in their life, father and mother figures in their life, and they come from so much brokenness. They're looking even for big brothers, big sisters. They're looking for adult mentors in their life. And what gets me passionate about working with Youth for Christ is by the time me personally I was in the 6th grade, I was only 12 years old, and I even was getting arrested for the 2nd time. I was in a broken home. My mom had been married and divorced 3 times, had a couple other boyfriends that we had lived with, and I had all these people coming in and out of my life and experiencing a lot of pain and heartache, and it was creating a lot of anger in my life, and I was literally causing a lot of problems in my neighborhood. But at the age of 13, somebody shared with me the good news of Jesus Christ, and it changed my life. And they didn't just share the good news with me, and God began to change me from the inside out. They mentored me and modeled the love of Christ and community to me. And I got to experience even people inviting me in their homes, showing this is what it means to eat around a dinner table and not in front of a television. And I began to see what it looks like to be a follower of Christ and to love people. And so these mentors poured into me. And it gives me a passion when I see this next generation to say, wow, we need adult mentors. We need father figures, mother figures. We need big brothers, big sisters, grandparent figures pouring into the next generation, having a listening ear, listening to them when they're going through these traumatic experiences. And so at Youth for Christ, we've seen that just like in my life, the gospel and the good news of Jesus could change not just a young person's present, but their whole future. because now I'm a father and a husband. I have 4 kids. I actually have a granddaughter and a grandson on the way. It not only changed my life, it changed my family. And now, as the last 25 years of my life, I've dedicated to serving families and serving communities, and it's impacted a community in Chicago, and now I'm back in my hometown in Miami, and it's impacting a community because when there's crisis, we're present. When there's challenges, we're there helping find solutions, and we haven't fixed the whole city, but we're here making a difference. I can't imagine if there was nobody there listening to that young girl cry and relive her experience and share her trauma. And we need more and more adults that would care about young people, build relationships with them, love them where they're at, and bring the good news and hope that we could find in the love of God to the next generation. Thank you for helping us get the word out about Miami Youth for Christ. And wherever you're at, I would challenge you, pray for the next generation, and if possible, mentor a young person. God bless you.
Wow. Amazing, wonderful stories. Just thanking so much for those who are sharing and being vulnerable, and you can see that they're very moving stories. So we're just so thankful that you were able to stay and listen to these stories. I pray that you were blessed by them. And if you'd like to learn more about Youth for Christ or would love to become involved, we are in desperate need of help, of adults that would like to mentor and just be involved with these young people at any level, even if it's just bringing a meal. There's just so many wonderful opportunities. There's a link in the chat that you can click on, and it's a very short form that you can complete so we can learn more about you and you can learn more about us. There's so many different opportunities that you can have to get involved, one of which is hosting a See the Story just like this one in person in your home or in your groups at your office during your lunch hour. And we have other events that are going on. You can check our website to see those events that you can get involved with. But go ahead and complete the form, and we'll get back to you with other details. And we're just so thankful once again. Thank you for joining us, and God bless you.